Okay. Oh, there we go. Make sure it's working. Make sure it's working. Yep. Okay. We are all good in the hood. What is going on, guys? Hey, we are diversifying our portfolio a little bit. We've got Mormonism, and I talked to some Jehovah's Witnesses this week, so I'm hoping I'm going to get the Jehovah's Witness guy on here and to chat, because we had a very unproductive conversation. He liked to wield the mute button a lot and never get to arguments. So I invited him on. We could come and have a neutral, well, it's not neutral, it's my platform, but a place to speak where I won't mute him. So have an actual discussion, let the Jehovah's Witness deal with the topic. But if not, we're just doing the, just kind of broad Jesus is God topic, abortion is sin, Mormon prophets are not prophets. So that is, those are the topics. And God willing, we will have some solid conversations today. And again, like, I don't know, we'll just kind of see what happens. But by the grace of God, we'll have some good convos. So please tap the screen, repost the live, and share it to your story. That helps a whole lot with the algo stuff. It likes it. Thanks for the heart me. Looks like fun. Oh yeah, it'll be a good time. It'll be a good time. W topics, 100%. 100%. You guys have influenced me so much, Allie. I just can't hold it all in anymore. You know what I mean? Just can't. So, this is my cup for tonight. You like it? Sparkle pink. What is this? Cheetah print? Isn't it cute? Yeti? Is it brand? Is it on brand? Actually, don't know. Maybe it's a knockoff and it's like leaching. What is that stuff? What's the stuff they put into on like the Teflon? Yeah, thanks. Nice cup. I agree with all but the first, of course, 100%. But yeah, I figured we would try to diversify the portfolio this week, see what we can get, see if we can get some good conversations. My mom dresses me funny. My mom lives 2.5 hours away. But we do FaceTime, and she says, that's a good one. I say, thanks, Mom. This one also has a lot of spit up. Can you guys see that right here? This is thick right here. This is spit up. My son spit up all over me. We were at a community group thing for church, and he spit up every time I lay him on his stomach on my chest, he just everywhere, dude. Mormon prophets are false prophets. Amen. 100%, dude. This cup is definitely not engagement bait at all. Not even in the slightest. Oh, the paint's starting to chip. Dag nabbit. Anyway, guys, please keep tapping the screen. Like I said, share it to your stories, repost it, do all this stuff. Helps out a lot. And the algorithm likes it. So check your AirPods is what it says. Okay, hold on. Let me get Spotify up again. I can hear it. Be thou my vision about the Grey Havens. I can hear clear as day. One small thing, evidence from the text. There's more evidence that Jesus is not God. No, that's not true, Jacob. And if you'd like to talk about it, feel free to request up. We're going to bring up our first guest at 10K likes. So we got 9 more K to go. So versus that Jesus is God. Come talk about it. Your 24/7 obsession is cute. You see, it seems like the goalpost shifts for y'all, right? I diversify my portfolio. I move slightly away from Mormonism, a little bit. I have one prompt for Mormonism and then some other stuff, and it's still just not enough. You're obsessed. I am. I'm obsessed with people coming to know Jesus Christ. Amen. Find a truth and declare it. It's what I'm doing here. If LDS wrong, why none of their prophecies come true? Answer me that, Jacob. Jesus is the eternal God. So bring your truth. I'm not exactly saying, and maybe it's unclear, I'm not saying that you guys necessarily, I would say that you guys deny Jesus is God in the sense that the Bible teaches, meaning the Trinity, but I'm not saying you guys deny that he's Yahweh. This is specifically like the Jesus is God part is specifically for like Jehovah's Witnesses or people like Jacob in the comments. You're insulting another's belief. Be proud. Isn't that what you're doing? It's kind of ironic, BYU fan. Insulting my belief that I need to talk about other people's beliefs. How you doing, brother? Luke? I'm doing pretty good, brother. How are you? No? Seems like you're shifting the goalpost. Got them on wheels. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. Again, guys, Mormon prophets are not prophets. If you disagree, request up. Jesus is God. He is specifically a Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament, who was incarnate on earth according to the scriptures, and they are true. And abortion is sin. Very plainly in the text, abortion is sin. If you disagree, request up. Bringing up our first guest at 10K. We're at 2K. Deep seek. Like, why are you, hey, Jacob, how about you come up and have a conversation? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Instead of asking me to ask AI. AI is stupid. No? Okay. Well, then just keep pumping up my algorithm with your comments. I'll take it. I'll take whatever you can give me. Go make some friends outside. You know, it's funny enough, I actually just came from a community group event with my friends. So, because I'm not attacking anyone, seems like you're attacking me in the comments. I don't know about that, Chief. You're smarter than AI. AI probably knows everything on the internet. But there's a lot of stuff on the internet that contradicts itself. So how does it know which one is correct? Jacob. That's my question. How does AI know which one, like which standpoint is correct? Yeah, Christians obviously teaching that Jesus is God from the Bible, because that's what it teaches. And then you have, you know, like people that like Unitarians or whoever that are not studying the Bible and then coming to that conclusion, saying the same thing on the internet. So how does it know which one's right? It doesn't. So having a head full of knowledge doesn't mean you're smarter than anybody. You just know a lot of stuff. Can Calvinists join the military? I mean, I don't think it's about Calvinism. I think it's more about, is the war just? That's what I would be more worried about. Not, yeah, I don't know. But you're not reading the Bible in context? Come show that to me, Jacob. Come on. Come on, Jacob. No, it does not give evidence for both. Does not. Does not. You seem very vocal in the comments, Jacob. You should come up and just have a conversation. I understand it can be a little daunting sometimes, but a little scary. Come on up. We can have a conversation. Let us reason together, declares the Lord. Isaiah chapter 40. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. And Jacob, your sins will be white as snow the moment you trust in God, the creator of all things, Jesus Christ, to pay for your sins in totality. Amen. Okay, I'll write them down for you. In the chat, pumping up the algorithm, dude. I like it. I like the way you think. I like the way you think, dude. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Pump up them numbers, Chief. Anyway, guys, like I said, Mormonism, Mormon prophets are not prophets. Jesus is God. Again, maybe the order, I should change the order because people are going to be like, are you saying Mormons don't think that Jesus is God? Okay, yeah, I understand that they say Jesus is Jehovah. I get that. I'm not saying that. Different conversation. But if there is no war and join, an unjust war broke out, you fight and go AWOL. Hypothetically, that's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know what I would do. I mean, if I've committed myself, but if it's unjust, so like if they're telling me to fight, like for example, if America became 1940s Germany and I was in the military and they were saying go cleanse this ethnic group, I would rather die. Right. So I'd probably say, I guess go AWOL, because if they're making you break God's law, or they're not making you, they're coercing you to do that, then go AWOL for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, throw me in prison. I'm not gonna slaughter people. You know, like I'm not gonna go like ethnic cleanse someplace because you think they're like, I don't know, whatever old mustache man in Germany, whatever his rationale was ultimately, or at least his surface level rationale, you know. If we approach the Bible purely as a textual historical question, comma. I'm waiting, Jacob. You're holding me in suspense right now, dude. Come on, you can't do this to me. You can't. I can't handle it, dude. I don't know what to do with myself. You left me with a comma. There's something coming. And you just stopped. The word was with God and the word was God. Okay. The word in context is Jesus, right? You're going to say it's Jesus, right? In context of John chapter 1. 1 through 14, right? What denomination do you follow? I'm a Baptist, Reformed in my soteriology. Aorist, like aorist tense. The word was godly. Oh my gosh. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Genesis debates. Aren't you the guy I made the video about? Is that you? Hello?
You made a video about me? That's surprising. I'll have to check it out. I don't know.
Wait, no, it's not you. It's not, never mind. That's not who I thought it was. Never mind. But anyway, what's
that's
up?
upsetting.
I know. Which one do you disagree with?
Yeah, I would disagree with Jesus is God.
Okay, why?
I think that there lacks sufficient evidence, which gives us reason to believe, number one, that Jesus resurrected, and then secondly, to believe that Jesus is God. So,
okay, so why don't you think the Bible teaches that he's Jehovah or Yahweh? How are you going to put that?
Well, I'm not denying that the Bible teaches this. I'm denying the fact
That's
that
the argument
the Bible
I'm coming
gives
from.
us sufficient evidence.
You also have bars. I'm sorry. So you're saying that the Bible does or does not teach that he is Yahweh?
I'm saying that the Bible does teach this, but I'm saying the Bible doesn't give us
And that's what we're
sufficient
talking
evidence
about.
to believe this.
Well, then that's what we're talking about.
Why should I accept the premise of the Bible?
So again, we're not having a debate of why you should believe the Bible. We're talking about Jesus is God, Mormonism has false prophets, and abortion is sin. So this is a red herring, not talking about that stuff.
Wait, what?
So
can you formalize the fallacy of it being a red herring?
So I'm talking about Jesus being God, and you're going to, why should I believe that the Bible is true? That's what you're going to. So you're going to a totally different argument.
I'm asking for sufficient evidence in which demonstrates that Jesus is God.
Okay. The Bible. I would say that again, we're talking about what does the Bible teach? The Bible teaches that Jesus is Yahweh. You conceded that, so that's the conversation.
Okay, but do you see how just because the Bible teaches it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be true?
Okay, so that's what we're talking about. You clearly don't want to have that conversation. That's okay. Try to be as clear as possible. W concession. You literally conceded to my argument. That's what we're talking about. So you wanted to argue something else. So again, does the Bible teach Jesus is Jehovah? That's what we're talking about. He said yes. W concession. W pink sparkly cup. The premise of these discussions is the truth of the Bible. So we're talking specifically to people that already believe the Bible. I'm not going to argue with you on whether the Bible is true or not. That's what we're talking about. I liked your post today about Lindsay Clancy. Thank you. There's a lot of people that are coming out the woodwork. I'll be honest with you. And those people, kind of crazy. I'll be honest. Kind of scares me a little bit. When you have people, again, just like I said in the video, coming out, standing in solidarity with Lindsay Clancy. Like, same. Their videos are like, same, Clancy. I'm right there with you. I'm there with you, girl. You know, you're just like, your kids should be terrified of you. Oh my gosh, he's still going. Keep doing it, Jacob. You're helping the algorithm, dude. Big W's in the chat. Mormon, this prophet is true. Boy, what your problem, bro? Well, so I would say that Mormon prophets fail the test of a prophet. Therefore, they're not prophets. Take every thought captive. Amen. A to the man. A to the man. The word was God, captured the qualitative ascendant. Are you just copy pasting ChatGPT? I guess that's what you said you were doing. So, yeah. Yep. When Joseph changed John 1:1, he stripped Jesus of his deity. He does in many ways, actually. That's interesting. I've used the Joseph Smith translation for reasons other than John 1:1, but I've heard some weird. I think I've heard the weird stuff about John 1:1. But do tapers fail the test of a horse, dude? I like, if you guys have been on like r/x Mormon, you see the picture. I can see the picture. The Indians, or sorry, natives riding the tapers, dude. Just stop. You're not me. I don't even know who you are. Who are you? Who are you? It's almost like that guy that like walks into like a, I don't know, a restaurant, and they say, "Sorry, sir, you need a reservation." They're like, and he goes, "Do you know who I am?" It's like, dude, you have 150 followers on TikTok. You think you're a celebrity? What are we doing? What are we doing? Mormons believe in a different Jesus other than King Yahushua, okay, of the Holy Bible. I would agree that they believe in a different Jesus. Would agree. Would agree. Bless you. Hey, just bless you as well, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. He was blasphemous in nearly every teaching. See, I mean, I can say with some things he obviously got right because he's just copying it from the Bible, right? Like, he got some things right, obviously, because he's just pulling it from the Bible. Joseph Smith says, "You shall not murder." W, dude. I'm right there with you, bro. 100%. Because Jesus said so. W. Are you from Laguna Beach? No. I'm not from Laguna Beach. I am from Dallas, Texas. Broken clock is right twice a day. 100%. Especially when he has a wonderful source to draw from. But not common. But not common. Oh, you're talking about him being right. Is that what you're saying? Remarkably strong passages distinguishing Jesus from God. When are you going to go on a date with Travis? He's not far from you. He's in, I don't want to tell him. Well, I'm not going to tell him where he's at, but I know where he's at. But I don't ever go that way. Well, I had to go pick my dog up in an area near him. Me and Travis don't get along though. I don't know. Like I've had one almost, like it wasn't even about anything. We were just in the same live together, and it was almost cordial for like 20 minutes. We didn't like address each other directly, but when it happened, it just went off. You know what I mean? It just didn't work. So, what you think of dog James R. White? I don't think he's a dog. He's clearly a human. I don't think he's a dog. I think he's good. I like James White. Doctor. Yeah, I like James White. I like him. I ascend to my Father, your Father, my God, and your God. Man, you sound like a Muslim right now, dude. Are you Muslim, Jacob? Wait. Are you? It doesn't say it in your bio. So if you understood Trinitarianism, Jacob, you would understand why that's not a problem for us. If you understood that. But I'll be honest. I know you're on Chat GPT, like you said, you didn't say, what'd you say? CKI or whatever. Just copy and paste in your stuff. I get it. I found the LDS inability to decide if doctrine is decided by DNC 10728. Sorry, hold on. I find the LDS inability to decide if doctrine is decided by, like, as in, they come to the conclusion of what is doctrine by DNC 10728. Is that what you mean? Your Trinitarian ideology? No, Trinitarian ideology. I didn't come up with the Trinity, so it's not mine. You know, God's kind of like by nature, like a Trinity. So I didn't come up with that. It's kind of just like reality, you know? Is it written? The church didn't come up with the Trinity. God has been eternally triune. The Bible. Jacob, if you would come up and have a discussion, we could talk about it. Yeah. Yeah. We could come up and have a conversation about it. What you want? If Jesus is God the Father? If Jesus is God the Father? One more time, maybe I'll understand it. If Jesus is God the Father? What are you trying to say, dude? Aman Shaib? What are you trying to say? DNC 10728, all apostles must agree. And people. That's interesting. So, Aman, you said the same thing. You said, is God the Father? My bad. If Jesus is God the Father? My bad. You just, so I'm sorry. I still don't. Are you saying if Jesus is God? Oh, is Jesus God the Father? Oh, no. I spent 2 weeks in Pocatello or Pocatello. Oh, it's Pocatello. It's Idaho. It's definitely Pocatello. With an LDS family. I did some carpentry while I was there to pay for my trip. They were very nice, but still different Christ. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And see, that's the thing. Like, a majority of Latter-day Saints are just wonderful people, right? Like, they're just absolutely wonderful people. But even though they're extremely nice, you have to be very straightforward. Very straightforward, very upfront. Is God the Father? Okay. Aman, I'm sorry. I'm assuming it's Aman. You're going to have to come up and explain what you mean. I'm sorry. No, just say, is God the Father? You're going to have to come up here and explain it, dude. Is God the Father like in Trinity? The Father is yeah, the Father is, I don't like the word part, but part of the Trinity. Yeah. But Jesus is not the Father, no. Jacob. Let's go, dude. Finally. W's in the chat for Jacob, dude. Oh, bring. Sorry. What's up, Jacob?
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. What are you in, like, the UK?
I'm not from the UK.
Oh. Okay, well, good
Probably
good evening.
You guessed my background already.
Your background? That's a cat.
Yeah.
You talking about your profile picture?
No, you guessed my background. You said I could be a Muslim. Yeah, I am.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could kind of tell. Kind of figured.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. You figured that out.
I figured.
I was reading in the Bible actually. And I had some questions. So of course
Okay.
I'm going back and forth with AI. It's much easier to find information. So I found out that there's a
Okay.
lot of there's evidence for both, evidence for Jesus having a divine nature or something like that, and there's evidence that he prays for his father. He always mentions that he's the son of God or the son of mankind, like he likes to be called. He's the son of mankind. That's
Mm-hmm.
his favorite
Favorite title.
favorite title. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a bit weird. Like why
Which
is
is a
he
divine
calling
title.
himself the son of mankind? He's not calling himself God. Okay, and the Greek word for God, by the way, it wasn't used for God only. It was used for any Lord, any master, any. So it wasn't just particularly for God. While when the text mentions the Father, it meant it's more aligned with the Creator, because he
Okay.
created as
So
well Jesus,
look,
and he
Jacob, just
put
real quick.
life in
Let me
Jesus.
ask you this. Just real quick. Let me ask you this. Do you think the Bible teaches that Jesus is Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament?
No,
Okay. Can I show you a passage where it shows that Jesus is Yahweh, the God of the Old Testament?
but there's okay. You show me one passage, but the thing is,
Okay. Well,
there's
it's not. I mean,
hundreds of.
it's a whole
Listen,
argument,
listen.
but yeah.
Yeah, of course, of course. We're not gonna resolve this now and in a minute. But anyways, there's a lot of more passages, okay, showing that Jesus is more like a messenger. So you show me one passage, but there are tens and maybe much more passages that shows Jesus as a messenger. He says that I don't talk like from what I'm saying. What I'm saying is from the Father, right?
Jesus was a
So
prophet. We
how
totally agree
come?
with that. We 100%. We as Christians, we 100% affirm the prophethood of Jesus. We believe that.
Yeah, but if you put aside, if you're trying to study this objectively, if you put aside your ideology, what you've learned from the church, okay, and just rely on the text, that would
Come to the
change.
same
That
conclusions.
would change.
No,
That's what I'm
it
saying.
wouldn't.
That would change. I come from a different background,
It's
so
not.
I'm reading the text from a different perspective. I don't see
People
what
can
you
be wrong
guys
about
see.
things, Jacob.
Sorry?
People can be wrong about things, and you're wrong.
Your ideology could be wrong as well.
Well, it's
What's the
biblical.
point?
So if you're going to
What's the
talk about
point?
like if you're going to talk about
If
what's
you think about
wrong,
it,
well,
listen, if you
Jacob,
think
hold
it,
on, Jacob, hold on.
yeah,
If we're going to talk
go.
about what's wrong, we're talking about what the Bible teaches. So that's our standard. So again, I come to the conclusion that Jesus is a prophet because of what Scripture says. He's the prophet like Moses that was to come, who was prophesied in Deuteronomy 18.
Exactly.
Okay, so I affirm the prophethood of Jesus. Okay.
Okay.
I also believe he was a man because the Bible teaches he was a man.
Great.
I also believe
Yeah.
that he was Yahweh incarnate because that's what the Bible teaches. So I believe all of these things are
Okay.
true at the same time.
Okay. I agree with the first two. Most probably.
Okay.
The
Can
problem
we
is
get to the
in
thing
the
about
third.
Jesus being Yahweh
The
then,
problem is in
since
the
that's your
third.
hang up? Okay. Well,
No,
do you have a Bible
let's
with you?
let's go backwards a bit.
No.
Because Judaism
No.
teaches
Listen,
that.
this is rambling. Hold on, Jacob. This is rambling. Let's just get to the point. Cut to the quick. See if
No,
see
go
if the
ahead.
Bible teaches that he's Jehovah or Yahweh. Do you have a Bible?
I have it on my phone. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. If you go outside the app, I obviously can't hear you. Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to look at it, I'll just read you the passage real quick, and then we can talk about it. Whichever you want to do. So it'll be in Hebrews chapter 1. Actually, yeah. If you want to go into your app, you can still hear me, but we can read it together. If you just, I'll give you like 30 seconds to get to your app, and we can. It's a Hebrews chapter 1. We'll start in verse 8, and then you can pop in and chime in whenever. Just cut me off. It's fine. It'd be easy, man. You know, yeah, it would be easier if you just had a Bible, but it's okay. We'll make it work. I'm gonna give you like 15 more seconds. Also, guys, please keep tapping the screen, share it to your stories, and repost it. It helps the algorithm. So, anyway, all right. So I'll start in verse 8. But of the Son, he says, I'm sure you can see that in verse 8. And the he, just to be clear, Jacob, if you go back to verse 5, you're going to see that it never changed. The person speaking in the context never changes. So, verse 5, which of the angels did God ever say? And that God, obviously, it's talking about God the Father. That's who it's talking about, referencing, and then goes on from there. So we get to verse 8. The Father is still speaking, but of the Son, he says, your throne, O God, and this is not the scripture I'm going to, so I'm just reading it in context. Your throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of uprightness is the scepter of your kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions. And Kai in the Greek. Okay. So, and if I tell you, and Jacob, you can just stay outside that, but I'm going to tell you this. If I tell you I like peanut butter and jelly, I'm telling you I like both of those things. So they're tied together. So he says, verse 9 about the Son, and verse 10 through 12. And you, Lord, laid the foundations of the earth in the beginning. The heavens will perish. I'm sorry, the heavens are the works of your hands. They will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment, like a robe. You will roll them up. Like a garment, they will be changed, but you're the same, and your years have no end. Okay, Jacob, you can read that for a few more seconds and then pop back into the app. Let's talk about it. Whenever you're ready, you can pop back in the app and we can talk about it. Because again, I can't hear you if you're outside the app. Mr. Jacob. You still there, Jacob, or did you get a phone call? Because it still says you're outside the app. All right. I think, Jacob, you might be having an issue. I'm going to drop you down.
Hey
Oh,
man,
there you
I'm
are.
back. Wait.
Okay.
It's not easy. I didn't have time to
You were
read it in Arabic as well. I wanted to read it in
you were
Arabic.
seek AIing is what you were doing.
I'm doing both. I was trying to read it in
Yeah, I knew
Arabic,
it.
of course.
I knew it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I knew it.
I was checking. Obviously, you have a background in this. Have you studied the Quran? Let's say no. I haven't studied the Bible. I'm reading from the Bible. Okay, and there's a big
Perfect.
difference.
We'll read it.
And
That's
there's
perfectly
a big
fine.
difference. So I haven't
Okay.
studied it. I'm not an expert. I never claimed I am an expert.
I'm not
I'm just
either.
a TikToker.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
So I
So
was trying to read it in Arabic as well because sometimes it's easier to understand, comprehend the meaning behind it.
I see what you're saying. So
Okay.
in Psalm, okay, so can you agree that in verse 8, when it says, but of the Son, he says, the things he is saying is about the Son?
Okay, but can you go to the previous passage? It mentions that
Which previous passage?
Hebrews.
What verse?
Yeah, I believe it's 8 or something like that.
That's what I was saying. It says, but of the Son, he says. That's the beginning of verse 8. Hold on, I gotta turn this fan off.
Therefore, God, your God.
Yeah. So again, this is why I didn't want you to get hung up on verses.
Sent you above your companions. Okay.
Yeah. So this is why
God,
I said,
your God has sent you above your
Jacob,
companions. It means
this
a
is
lot.
why I said I wasn't. Okay, I understand, but that's why I wasn't trying to get hung up on that passage because I know the rhetoric that goes on with this passage. That's not where I was going. My point was verses 10 through 12.
I know, I
That's
know,
where
I
I was
know.
going.
You're discussing the next point. However, the first point, it's explicit that his God, Jesus' God, has laid him above his companions. Okay, so who are his companions? Who are his companions here?
I mean,
What's the meaning here? What's the
his
meaning here?
companion. Well,
Do
so
you
again,
understand
this
the
is not
problem in the Bible? Okay, do you understand the problem in the Bible?
Jacob. Listen, I'm trying to make a specific
I'm
point,
listening.
and you're going off on tangents. Again, I have no issue talking about this, but I'm trying to get to a point. And if you would like, we can go through the point, the whole of the argument, finish it, and then if you have a different point that you want to hit, we can do that. But I'm trying in the
Okay,
middle
but
of trying to make a point.
I wish you can understand me as well. Okay, and from
Okay,
where I'm
so
coming, what I'm trying to say is that
mhm.
you Christians, okay, always they're trying to make connections, far away connections. While if you are reading the text, why am I searching?
Jacob, this
Okay,
feels like you
listen.
avoiding
Let
the
me
argument.
continue.
I'll be
Let me
honest, my
finish my
friend. No,
sentence.
listen, dude,
Okay.
you're just
Every time
listen, Jacob.
I'm
You're
trying to
just
say
making
something, you cut me
listen,
off. Just let me say something.
Jacob.
Just
No,
let me
because
say
Jacob,
something.
you're
Looking for
just saying
faraway connections while the text is explicit.
Jacob. No,
It's
I
clear.
think I think you might know where I'm going, and you're trying to like avoid it. So again, this is why I
No,
was
no,
saying,
I'm
let
not
me
trying to
finish my
avoid it. You're
argument.
making the connection
Okay,
between the Old
then let's
Testament
fight
and
it
the New
head on.
Testament.
So exactly, because I believe wholeheartedly that when the scripture is
Okay.
speaking of a previous text and telling us what it means, when an inspired author is telling me what
Okay.
God's word means in the Old Testament,
Okay.
then it's authoritative.
But
So if you
do you
already looked
agree
it up
with
on
me?
CKI,
Okay.
so Jacob, if you already looked it up on CKI, what is
No,
that
no.
verse quoting from?
Listen, do you
What are
agree with
verses 10
me?
through 12 quoting
In the
from?
Old
Jacob, can you answer the
Testament.
question, please?
Answer me. No, it's not gonna work
No,
like this.
Jacob.
Answer me.
No,
Do you
it
agree in
is
the Old
because
Testament?
listen, where I'm trying to,
They were.
Jacob. I don't want to mute you, dude. This is not your live. I'm
It
trying to
doesn't
run
work
you
like
through an
this.
argument. Jacob, when people tend to have a discussion, when I'm trying to lay out an argument, if you have a contention with the argument, you don't tell me your contention in the middle of it and not let me finish it. You let me finish it, and then you go back and then you attack it. If you have a real problem with it, because if this is easy to dismantle, Jacob, you should let me finish my whole argument, and then you can go back and dismantle it piece by
I
piece.
really thought you did. I really thought you did by making a
You thought
connection
I did what?
between Yahweh and the Old Testament and this particular passage referring to Jesus as Yahweh in the Old Testament. If you want to continue,
Where?
go ahead.
Which passage?
I'll let you continue. When you finish, just tell me you finished, and
Which
then I'll
passage?
try to reply to you.
If you know, just tell me the passage.
The one that came afterwards. The one that came afterwards. I think 10, either 9 or 10.
10. Yeah. So what is that verse quoting? If you've already Googled it, you should know, or CKI'd it, whatever.
Go ahead. I'm not gonna say anything. Go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. So again, well, this is kind of part of the argument. Like, what do you think this is quoting from? Or if you don't know, that's fine. Because again, this is part of the questioning.
I don't know.
Okay, it's fine. It's a quotation from Psalm 102. You can go there as well. Psalm 102. So Psalm 102 in context, very beginning, hear my prayer, O Yahweh. Keeps going through. Won't read all 30 verses or whatever. Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. We'll start in verse 22. When the peoples gather together the kingdoms to worship Yahweh, he, Yahweh, has broken my strength in mid-course. He has shortened my days. Yahweh is the one that shortened my days. Oh my God, I say, take me not away in the midst of my days. You, Yahweh, whose years have no end throughout all generations. Of old, you, Yahweh, laid the foundations of the earth, and the heavens are the works of your hands. You will perish, but you will remain. They will all wear out like a garment, so on and so forth. What is that a quotation from? Hebrews 1:10 through 12. So the Father in Hebrews chapter 1 is saying that the Son is saying about the Son, Hebrews 1 or Psalm 102, 25 to 27, which is about Yahweh. So Bible teaches Jesus is Yahweh. Do you agree or disagree? Go ahead.
You have a point, of course, and as I said in the beginning, that in the text there's evidence for both. Okay, there's evidence for both. Evidence that Jesus has a divine nature, and probably, as you said, he is one with God, and this is the Christian ideology today. And there's a lot of evidence as well that Jesus is a messenger. I'm going to reply here to you. Jesus says is his authority is the authority given by the Father, and he cannot do anything from himself. This is enough to reply to what you're saying now. Jesus' authority comes from the Father, and he cannot do anything without the Father. Plus, Jesus as well, he says, the Father has a life, and he has created a life for myself, or for Jesus as well.
A
So
body
he
for me.
created the life for Jesus. So he's the creator for Jesus. And I was trying to tell you one point. You cut me off. Is that okay? There's evidence for both. But if you read the New Testament, okay, without the prejudice or without the ideology that the church has spread, if you start, let's start with, let's read Peter's letters, okay? Peter was sending a letter to the Christians in the region, okay? The whole message, if you read it, it doesn't mention God being in human form. So how come? How come when Peter is sending a message, that important message, to all the Christians, okay, out there, how come he doesn't mention the core of Christianity, that Jesus is God in human form, and he came here for salvation of mankind? How come in his letters he doesn't mention this? In fact, if you read it, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. Jesus is just like a messenger. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Even if you try, okay, let's read the Bible from the beginning. Let's try, you wouldn't find something explicit as God being incarnated or being in a human form. How come, if that's the core of Christianity, how come it's not explicitly mentioned? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. But again,
that's it. That's
Peter.
all I wanted
Well,
to say.
okay, so Peter, right? You're saying if this is such a core to Christianity, a core belief of Christianity, why didn't Peter
Exactly.
mention this exact thing? That's called an argument from silence.
I cannot agree with that. I'm sorry. If
What is
I'm
an
building
argument
a
from
religion, it
silence?
has to be. If I'm building an ideology, the core of that ideology should be there. I cannot
Okay,
agree with you.
so
You have a
so
as I said,
hold on,
there's
Jacob,
evidence
hold on
for
real
both,
quick.
but I cannot agree
Okay.
with this.
Okay. Well, Jacob, just hold on. So, what this arbitrary standard of each book of the Bible has to teach specifically on this doctrine? Where does this arbitrary standard come from? Because I could go just as far. Actually, I could go further than you,
I'm
Jacob.
busy.
And so if I could go even further than this and say if this is
we'll make it
if this is such a core teaching, if this is such a core
one
teaching,
second, can't hear you.
no, it's okay.
I'm really sorry. That's my daughter.
Oh, it's okay. No, it happens. I have a son too. I understand, or a child. So again, my point is I could take that even further because that's a very arbitrary standard. It's a random out of nowhere standard that you just pulled out to say if this is such a core doctrine, it must be taught in every single book of the Bible. Well, if it's so core, I could just take it even more to an extreme. Why is it not taught on every sentence of the Bible? Right? Like why can I not open up the book of Proverbs talking about wisdom literature and how to handle? Hold on, Jacob, just real quick. Why can't I open up the and see that Yahweh is God and he is triune in each proverb written in the book of Proverbs. You know, it's just an arbitrary standard that you pulled up, and it's not grounded. And again, this is an argument from silence.
Yeah, I cannot agree with an argument with silence to build a doctrine. Anyways, but if you
But
go
that's what you're
back,
doing right
like
now.
I was, yeah. But if you go back even, there was a lot of discussions inside the church about the nature of Jesus, by the way. There was a lot of
Okay.
discussions. Okay. And that's proves my point. The text
No, it
is
doesn't.
not that's from your perspective, but it
Well,
does. It does.
people
Anyways,
arguing about something, Jacob, doesn't
just
mean that well, just hold on. If somebody argues that logic is subjective, all because they
no,
argue
they're not
that,
arguing about a detail. They're
th-
arguing about the core thing. That's the
uh,
problem. If you're arguing about
Jacob,
the
hold
detail,
on, Jacob, hold on,
in Islam, by the way,
Jacob.
there's a lot of arguing about details. Details,
But
everyone falls in.
logic is not a mere hold on, Jacob. Logic is not
Yeah.
a mere detail. That is one of the fundamentals of our reality, are the laws of logic, right? It's not a mere detail that we're arguing on about if
Listen,
A can be not A in the same way.
there's no
Hold
logic
on,
in
Jacob.
religion, by the way. There's no logic in religion at the end.
There's no logic in religion.
There is
What
some
do you
logic,
mean?
but I'm saying you cannot rely on logic only to explain religion. It's not gonna be easy.
So is there
Yeah.
logic in religion or no logic in religion, Jacob?
I believe I'm a believer, so yes, I'm gonna say yes. I'm not gonna go there, but I'm gonna say yes. There is.
Okay. So if
Because
there
I
is
believe
logic,
there's a
okay, well
creator
then
and there's a
that's a
logic
pointless.
behind.
But Jake,
it's
I think you're missing my point. So again, I'm bringing up logic in the example of if somebody argues about these fundamental laws of nature, like the laws of logic, all because I can have somebody argue me, look me straight in the face, and say that A can be not A and A at the same time and in the same sense at the same time, which is contradicts the law of non-contradiction, right? Then all because they're arguing that fact doesn't mean that they have a valid argument. It can be logically sound without being valid, right? If someone lays out an argument and they're arguing for it, it doesn't mean that it's valid.
Yeah,
So
but that's
people
not
can argue
someone.
things and be wrong, right, Jacob?
I know. Okay, I understand. But we're talking about the head of the churches at that time.
But those
They
are just
were
men,
arguing.
dude.
It's not me and you that were arguing.
But do you
It's the
think
head
that I
of the
believe the church is
churches.
infallible?
The head, listen, it was the head of the churches. They were arguing, not
That
me
holds
and
no
you.
authority to me.
So these are,
Listen,
it makes a big difference because these are the experts in this
I'm
field,
not a Catholic.
and they were arguing the nature of Jesus. Anyways, we're not gonna keep on discussing this. It's just a waste. But if you go
But
back
again,
as well, listen. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something here.
go ahead.
In the Old Testament, okay, do you agree that they were expecting a Messiah, right? They were expecting a Messiah. Yes or no?
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay. Why does the Bible, okay, let's go to like in the first verses, they're proving that Jesus is a descendant of Abraham and Dawood. I don't know. I think it's
David.
Yeah. So why are they proving that he's a descendant of Abraham or David? Why don't they just say it's God, okay, in flesh, in human form? God in human form.
It's a verbatim fallacy.
One
It doesn't
second,
have
one
to.
second. Let me finish what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
if you read, it's clearly referring to that Jesus was the Messiah. So it aligns better with the Old Testament that there was a Messiah to come. Okay, then who was the Messiah to come? You can get it from the Old Testament, but he's the Messiah, not God himself, not the Father. So it aligns with the Messiah, with Jesus being the Messiah. For me, it's clear, okay? Because I come from a different background. For you, because there's the Trinitarian ideology, it's hard for you to understand.
Okay. So again, you simply saying that I just don't understand
No, no,
doesn't really
I'm
do any.
sorry.
I
Excuse my
mean,
English. Sometimes I don't know how to express myself really
that's okay.
perfectly. My English is not perfect. I'm not a native English speaker, so
That's
bear
okay.
with me. Bear with me, please.
That's okay. So again, so I guess to go back to our original point, would
Yeah.
you agree that since we went over that passage, that the Bible does teach that Jesus is Yahweh?
I don't agree because, as I said, there's evidence in the New Testament as well. There's a lot of more evidence showing that Jesus has taken the authority from the Father. And
Okay.
just like in the end of
Can
times, let me
I'm
finish. In the
sorry.
end of times,
Okay.
in the end of times, okay, it's like God has given Jesus a kingdom, by the way, uh, and he has ruling on that kingdom. Okay, that's the core message. And in the end, all creatures will bow, and the Son himself, Jesus, will bow. Okay, that is much more clearer, and it aligns better with the whole ideology. Okay, so here when you're talking about Yahweh, you need to distinguish between Yahweh and Jesus.
Okay. So this is why I
You
was
are
trying to
relying
talk
on
about
this
this.
specific text. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So in the text I brought up, since that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Does that verse teach that Jesus is Yahweh?
Okay, I'm gonna be direct with you. You can infer from it, yes, Jesus is Yahweh. Yes, yes, this is one of the evidence that you can infer that Jesus is Yahweh. However, it doesn't align with the whole ideology, with the context of the whole. If you are just looking at it separately, yes. But if you are looking at it in the context of both books, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and if you go back even to Judaism, it doesn't align. It doesn't align, and there's much more evidence that there's a father and there's a son, and they're two separate entities. They're two separate entities. Okay.
Okay. So we can come to an agreement and shake hands and say, yes, the Bible does in
Yeah, yeah,
fact
yeah.
teach that Jesus
Of
is
course,
Yahweh.
because listen, if it was that clear, by the way, we wouldn't be discussing. If things were clear in the Bible, we wouldn't be discussing them now.
That's not true at all. And this is why I brought up that example,
It
Jacob.
is true.
Hold
I
on,
just told
Jacob.
you the
No,
head
no,
of the
Jacob.
church, the head of the
Jacob,
church.
Jacob. Hold on. Pause.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, this is why I brought up the whole idea of people arguing about the laws of logic, all because people argue about things and they try to say that like the laws of
I
logic
cannot
are not
agree with you, my
absolute.
friend. So you're saying your logic is better than the head of
Oh,
church
no,
back then? Come on,
listen,
man. Come
no,
on.
listen.
Come
You're not.
on. Come
I think you're
on.
not. No, I
Come
think you're.
on.
I hope you're
Your
not
logic,
purposefully not
you are
following
not
my argument,
you're not the
Jacob.
only man
Listen,
who has a logic.
please steel man my argument. What am I trying to say to you right now?
You're saying that based on logic, okay, purely on logic, that this text, this specific passage
No, no,
proves
that's not
that
what Jacob.
Jesus is Yahweh,
No, that's
then
not even what I was
I'm
saying.
gonna
That's not what I'm saying.
generalize and build the
No,
ideology
you
based
weren't
on this
listening.
passage.
All right, I'm gonna mute
Based
you,
on this passage.
Jacob. Jacob,
Why?
I'm gonna mute you. You were not listening to a word I just said. You weren't listening to a word I just said, dude. With all due respect, I've tried to be very, very, very patient with you because I get that there is a language barrier. I've made it very clear that my whole argument that I just laid out to you was about people arguing about things that are absolute, like the laws of logic. All because people argue about something doesn't mean that the people arguing are right. It doesn't mean that they have a valid point or that can be substantiated in reality. That was my point about bringing up logic. People can argue about things that are absolute, like the laws of logic being subjective or not. And all because they argue about that till they're blue in the face doesn't mean that they're right. Go ahead and unmute. That was my argument.
Okay, as I started my conversation, that there is evidence that gives Jesus a divine nature, or as you said in this passage, he's the Yahweh, or he's the Father, or who, I don't know who's Yahweh. You should look in the Old Testament. Yahweh is the creator. So there is evidence that
Agreed.
supports this, and there's evidence that supports that. There's two
But the
perspectives.
problem is, Jacob, when you first came
Yeah,
up here, and I asked you very directly if the
yeah.
Bible teaches at all that Jesus is Yahweh, you said no.
From the way I see it, no. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna answer the same
So
answer every time.
is your mind changed
Because
now?
no, it didn't change.
Okay.
As I said,
You're giving me, okay. Have a good day, Jacob. You told me, literally told me that you said this verse teaches that Jesus is Yahweh. You said that, and then you affirmed it. You actually went on a whole tangent about it. I'm glad it's recorded because you said that, and now you're saying that you're not saying that. So you're just like contradicting yourself. And then you obviously weren't listening to the conversation at all. So that's why we had to go on about that at all. So God bless you. Go in peace. Repent. Trust in Christ, who is God in the flesh, died for the sins of all who would ever believe in him. And if you don't, you will die in your sins. Jesus says in John 14, if you do not believe that I'm he, you will die in your sins. Trust in Christ. Repent. Welcome back.
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. I just got done with sharing the gospel with over 1,000 people.
How'd you do that?
I went into an atheist room and 2v1 and
Like Dean Withers or somebody?
Mezzo. Do you know
I don't know
Mezzo?
who that is. No, I don't.
But yeah, man, they're funny. I'll give them that. Like they're actually pretty hilarious. And but I really dislike how they disrespect God. So I try to communicate that to them. But yeah, it was, you know, I'm just hoping one person maybe it got them thinking. So, but there was some ex-LDS in there, and they were like hassling me. But it just, yeah, the more I talk about the LDS Church, it makes sense. Like the plan of
Okay.
salvation really.
So obviously, I know we talked last week, and I confused you with somebody else. I actually remembered who that was that I talked to, and it was the guy named White Liberian Lynx. Do you know who that is on here?
No.
You seen him before?
Is he LDS?
He is. He claims to be, but that's the guy I was talking about. He was the one that told me that he smokes pot, and that he told me at first that he had a temple recommend, and then told me later on, well, my bishop would give me one if I asked. So that was that guy. So that's who I yeah. No, okay. So Cocktail, I get you're saying he's not. That's what he claims. So
Right.
that's what he claims. So that's why I got this guy confused last week. Our friend Humbleness right here, confused with him last week. So anyway,
Wait,
so obviously you disagree with the top prompt: Mormon prophets are not prophets.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And obviously, I would say, I think a good example of why Mormon prophets are not prophets is because they fail the test of a prophet. We talked about this, I think, last week with Joseph Smith. But
Yeah.
this
temple.
week, the temple. So I would say, that another way you could show that another prophet is not a prophet of God. Well, it's the same test, but like with Brigham, it's his Adam God doctrine that he taught. Did we talk about that at all last week?
We didn't. No.
We did not. Okay. So I would say again that's another part of it, that because he taught the Adam God doctrine, he was not a prophet of God.
Can I
So, yeah.
comment on that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So with the whole Adam God doctrine thing, I really think this is it's coming out of confusion, and basically Adam was a title, And they, they even use Jesus. They call him the second Adam in the New Testament. So Adam can be a title, and because of that, have you ever heard of Ward Radio? It's like a LDS podcast.
I have, and Jonah Barnes and his understanding of it is actually his understanding of Adam was just a title and things like that. He's actually got a lot of pushback from people like Robert Boylan, if you know who that is, and others. And actually, Robert Boylan made a lot of good points against Jonah Barnes because, again, like this is what Brigham taught, and like a point that well, here, do you even know who Robert Boylan is? He's like an LDS apologist.
I probably have seen him before, but not by name. Probably seen some of his stuff.
So Jonah Barnes, when he started coming out, I guess more recently, it's been the last few months like last 6 months, and he started bringing this stuff out, at least that I've heard of it. So he tweeted about it, for example, and then this guy, Robert Boylan, tweeted back at him, and this is what he says. He says, "I'm not a fan of lousy arguments against the church," talking about because he like Robert Boylan doesn't like people like use the Adam God doctrine against the church in general. He says, "I'm not a fan of that lousy argument against the church. I'm also opposed to poorly researched and argued apologetic arguments." This post, the post he's commenting on from Jonah Barnes, is aimed at a recent lousy apologetic concerning Brigham Young and his Adam God theology. And then he goes on to make like 6 points. And I think the best point that he made in it is this one. It says, "To deny Brigham Young taught Adam God," this is what Boylan says, "makes nonsense of the debates between Orson Pratt and Brigham Young, April 4th to 5th in the 1860s. So because of the clearness through which they debated on this topic, and because Orson Pratt was against this whole Adam God doctrine. If it was a simple misunderstanding, as people like yourself and Jonah Barnes are trying to say today, then there would be no reason for this amount of contention. Like it literally nullifies the entire point of the arguments between Orson Pratt and Brigham Young. So I would say that this new understanding is not a good one, and it's not accurate historically.
Does he comment and say anything of what he thinks was going on? What was trying to be communicated? Yeah.
He thinks Brigham Young taught the Adam God doctrine.
And does he like clarify exactly what was being taught?
The Adam God. Well, the way that we are trying to articulate it, he thinks it's a dumb argument. Like that's his understanding. He thinks it's a dumb argument for whatever reason. But the way that we're trying to say he taught the Adam God doctrine historically is what he's trying to argue. So again, he lists 6 points. I can actually send you this article where it lays all this out if you would like.
I'm all about research. I like to, in my own time, kind of go through the facts and weigh it out. So I appreciate that if you do that. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so I can just I'll actually just kind of list them out, and we'll kind of go like one by one, because I do think the way that he contends for this, your screen's doing a weird thing. Are you still there?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure
your picture's doing something weird. I don't know. On my phone, anyway, doesn't matter. My computer's glitching out. So the first of his points from that he lays out: we have multiple accounts from others, not just Brigham Young, that he on occasion identified Adam with the Ancient of Days and the Archangel Michael in his Adam God discourses. The second one, we have his contemporary interpretation. We have Wilford Woodruff and others in their journals that interpret Brigham Young as identifying Michael / Adam as the Ancient of Days with the God and Father of Jesus. And then he says, oh, I'm going to butcher this. Lajan, L-A-J-E-A, like Lajane or Lajan, I don't know. Caruth's work cuts the other way. Barnes leans heavily on the idea that the Journal of Discourses is unreliable, but Boylan calls it, and it is like a summary in this article of like what Boylan's laying out here. That the Journal of Discourses is unreliable, but Boylan calls this a use of Lajane Caruth's research that is not intellectually honest. Caruth has transcribed the original Pittman shorthand of many of Brigham Young's sermons of the church history library, And Boylan notes that the Adam God is taught in her transcripts, and further reports that he asks her personally twice whether Brigham taught Adam God. She said he did, though, as with me, is scratching their head as to what exactly he meant, which I think it's clear what he meant.
Do you
Tonight,
think because it was done in shorthand that they basically write little notes and then go back and fill in most of it? Like, is there a possibility that this confusion can stem from it originally being shorthand and then the transcribers went back and kind of maybe misrepresented what was being taught, especially if Adam is used as a title, but then there was something else trying to be communicated? Like, I don't know. I think there's room
so
for
this
error.
argument that so what Boylan's laying out here is that specific argument. He's going against the idea that it's a mere title, and again, he's a Latter-day Saint, and the person that he's talking to, this Lejean Caruth person who has personally transmitted the Pittman shorthand, he asks her, who personally translated the Pittman shorthand, if he taught it, and she said yes. Now, she would go on to say that she doesn't know what he meant. I think it's pretty clear what he meant by him calling Adam God. I think it's very, very clear, but it's neither here nor there. And then, yeah, so his whole point, and again, it's clear, like if you read his sermons, like not Jonah Barnes sermons, but if you read Brigham Young's sermons, it's very, very clear what he meant. I mean, he literally says that Adam came down with a celestial body. Okay. We know who has celestial bodies. It's a resurrected being. So Adam would have had to have been a resurrected being, when we know that in Orthodox LDS theology, he was not a resurrected being with a celestial body when he entered the earth. Right. So since that's I'll just turn my phone go off. Since that's the case, and you see the argument from Brigham that he had a celestial body, that would mean he's a resurrected being, meaning, and if he's already resurrected, it means he wasn't resurrected on the earth that he was standing on in Eden. You see what I'm saying? So it wouldn't make sense of what Brigham actually taught.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I do think there's answers, and so I don't have them right now, but I wouldn't be
That's
surprised if something, if dots get connected and someone figures kind of what's going on. There's a lot of different ideas, and I think if LDS, if we can get some people that will, even if the truth is uncomfortable, will stick with it, because I'm not about like trying to apologize or make it less shocking or anything. Like, if God communicated the truth, I want to know it, and then I'll represent it even if I get pushback.
Sure.
But I'm just trying to figure out what was actually said. So I'll take a look at that.
Sure. That's fine. Well, and so if you would rather just, so I can send you that here, I'll do it right now. Do I follow you? I think I do. Let me look.
Yeah.
Oh, I literally, I know I clicked follow back last time we talked, but for some reason it's not like registering here. Yeah, let me just click on your profile here. Unable to load. Okay, never mind. I'll have to do it on my phone. Anyway, but if you don't mind, I would like to read just a portion of one of his sermons. Like, it is actually his first sermon he ever taught. It was like April 9th, 1852 or something. He says, this is Brigham Young. "Now hear it, O inhabitants of the earth, Jew and Gentile, saint and sinner. When our father Adam came into the Garden of Eden, he came into it with a celestial body and brought Eve, one of his wives, with him." So obviously to Brigham Young, he was a polygamist. "He helped make and organize the world. He is Michael the archangel, the ancient of days, about whom holy men have written and spoken. He is our Father and our God, the only God with whom we have to do. Every man upon the earth, professing Christian and non-professing, must hear it. We will all know it sooner or later." So again, as far as you understand LDS theology, who has a celestial body? Who receives a celestial body?
Glorified beings.
Right. Which would be like a resurrected being.
I've actually always wondered if we were celestial, like if we were in the, you know, in the pre-existence with Heavenly Father, and we were spiritual beings, and we're in that same realm as would, and he's in the celestial kingdom, would that make us celestial beings? I've always wondered that. I haven't even looked that up
Well,
before
as
we
far as
came.
as far as I understand it with context, which I would understand it the same way that you understood it, that a celestial being or somebody with a celestial body is somebody who has lived on an earth and has been resurrected. That is somebody who has a celestial body, right? And so I would agree with you that that's how we like that. That's how your church at least understands how someone receives a celestial body. And so if that's the understanding, and if that's what's been understood since the beginning of y'all's church, and you see somebody coming onto the earth, namely Adam and Eve, Adam at least with a celestial body himself, then that would mean he's a resurrected being, right? So if he was already a resurrected being, it means he would have had to been resurrected elsewhere and not on the earth that he populated, which is this one, obviously. So that it's stuff like this that, like, when you read it and people try to say, well, we don't really know what he meant, but when he says celestial body, what is a celestial body? We know what that is, define terms, then we can know what he's saying very plainly. So anyway, that's
So if it was so cut and dry, I just feel like there's certain things. Yeah, I don't know why there's so much confusion on that. I think there's probably, like you said, there's he's commented on it. I would like to read what him and Orson Pratt were talking about, but
their debates. I mean, I'm actually looking at a book. It's called Adam is God with a bunch of question marks by a guy named Chris Avalakis. And it's basically like a long, like a 60-page book. I have the PDF. Actually, sorry, it's a 32-page PDF, but it's like a really, really long article, basically. And he lays out the history of the Adam God teaching from the very beginning, its very first, at least written format or transcribed format, in like a oh my gosh, conference talk in the 1950s, and then he kind of lays it out to the very end with its contentions and everything. It's a really, really, really good read. He even has like the opposition and stuff, like when it starts ramping up with him and Orson and all the other people. Actually, it'd be interesting. Like, let's look at this real quick, because if there's a clear, or like if Orson Pratt made a clear like articulation against this specific doctrine, or against this teaching, then we could know like what he's arguing against, right?
right.
Let me see if let me see. Apostle Pratt opposes Young's Adam God. Let me see. When Young declared some of Orson's doctrines to be false, Pratt retaliated against the prophet by voicing his disbelief in the Adam God doctrine. Brother Pratt also thought Adam was made of the. Oh, is this Brigham talking about? I want to see what in October 1854 the Mormon Church held a semi-annual conference. Young delivered perhaps the most colorful discourse ever presented in the Mormon Church addressing this immense gathering. No, I want to hear Pratt, bro. The doctrine of eternal progression. Let me see. Sorry. I don't know, but I can send you this book. I can send you this book, and then it's free. It's just a PDF. I'll send it to you with that other article, and then if you want to look over it, you can do that, and then maybe come back tomorrow or Sunday when I'm live, and we can talk about it then. See what you thought about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll check it out.
Yeah, for sure. But okay, man. I've got other people in the guest box, so I'm gonna bring one of those guys up, and then we can continue on next time.
Sounds good.
All right, man. God bless you. Talk to you later. Bye. Oh, also, I didn't say this. Please send me a message, Humble, and send me a message, and we will that way I don't forget. I'll try not to forget to send you that stuff after I'm done streaming. I'll just bring both y'all up. Oh, hold on, Cocktail.
Whoops.
I'll just bring both y'all up. What's up, guys?
Hello. How are you?
Howdy, howdy. Okay. Obviously, well, I think you guys come from different branches, right? Like you're what cocktail? You said you're Thompsonite.
Yeah, so I'm a Thompsonite, but I don't hold to a lot of the Thompsonite beliefs. So Thompsonites have a very unregulated view of belief system. So
Interesting. Well, I want to tell you, I really enjoyed your video about
on the MRS channel,
yes, yeah, that was good. I really liked that.
I have a few other videos I'm working on currently as well. So those should be uploaded soon. But
Nice, dude.
taking my time on them. So
Yeah,
I've noticed there's been a recent push away from like historical LDS teachings, like saying it didn't happen. Example, Adam God, for example.
Yeah,
So,
would agree.
or did you see me talking to Haley in the comments? She didn't know about post-manifesto polygamy.
Oh, you mean like after they said it was outlawed, they kept doing it?
Post-manifesto typically in LDS circles typically is referring to the 1890 manifesto. It took them 3 manifestos before polygamy was finally stopped, and it didn't even stop until the 1920s. That's when it was like officially foot was on the floor. No more of this is happening, and the LDS Church started to hunt down polygamists.
Interesting.
An example of this is a post-manifesto polygamy. So 1890, Wilford Woodruff signs the first manifesto, which advises members of the church to avoid entering into plural marriage. That's what it says. That's what it says, or at least that's my interpretation when I read it. And then, literally in 1897, he marries Larry. Not Larry. Sorry, Laura. Let me find.
Larry. While he's looking that up, Bring, what's going on?
Nothing much. Yeah, I was gonna make a comment when the last guy was up as well. And this Joseph in Texas guy keeps tagging me in chat, and I haven't said a word the whole chat, so I'm gonna assume he's talking to the other guy.
He must be typing to somebody else. He's clicking your name, or he's seen you talk in other live streams, and he just thinks you're wrong, and he's letting you know. I don't know. Oh, he says I'm sorry.
I really,
He's talking to me.
I don't really talk to the other live streamers. No, yeah, Brigham definitely taught Adam God theory, just as it sounds like. The evidence is way too prevalent for it to be any different. Yeah, I think Jonah Barnes was wrong whenever he brought that up. And the MormonR.org article for Adam God theory is one that Robert Boylan wrote, and it details all of these specific details about who taught it, the questions around it, the historical timeline on when he taught it, the specific documents he taught it in, the refutals of it. So yeah, it's the church has just basically come out and said, yeah, we don't really know what he was talking about, but he was wrong, and that's that.
Wait, are you LDS?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so the woman I was talking about was Lydia Frankstein Munford. She married Wilford Woodruff in international waters in 1897.
In international waters.
Yeah, so they got on a boat, they went out to international waters and married her, so they weren't violating U.S. law.
Wow, that's very. I would have to do more study on that, but that's very interesting.
Post-manifesto polygamy continue to hold on one moment.
You know what? We got Haley requested up too. We'll just bring everybody in. This might be a little bit of chaos. I'm sorry, Truth. This is not the normal way we tend to have conversations, but
they didn't say, the church didn't come out and say that Brigham was wrong. Okay, the church has foundational principles of doctrine, and then it has things where it's like you can decide for yourself by your own discernment. Okay, so
will the church actively excommunicate people that profess belief in any of the 4 variations of Adam God that were presented by Brigham during his lifetime?
No.
Okay, then you're not familiar with your church.
So
They're not going to
in
excommunicate
October,
somebody
Hold,
if they believe in the Adam
hold
God
on,
theory.
Haley. Just real quick. Let's hear
so
what
in the
Brigham was saying.
October 1976 General Conference, President Spencer W. Kimball said, "We warn you against the dissemination of doctrines which are not according to the scriptures and which are alleged to have been taught by some of the general authorities of past generations, such, for instance, as the Adam God theory. We denounce that theory and hope that everyone will be cautioned against this and other kinds of false doctrine."
I'll have to go
So
read that because I don't remember Spencer Kimball saying that.
it's the October 1976 General Conference.
Yep. Yep. So again, I think that I think there's obviously a big, a wide swath of disagreement amongst a lot of people. And Haley, I mean, this is, if you want, there's a really good ebook I could send you. Also, I got to send another guy too, that lays all this out, and you can look at all the sources and stuff if you would like. Haley, it sounds like you're very far away from your mic and we can't really hear you.
I just don't think that it's really foundational doctrine one way or another.
It's I'm sorry, Haley. It's still, I can literally, it sounds like you're whispering almost. It's like you're very far away from your microphone. If you're wearing headphones, it might be the headphones acting up.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, this is just my opinion that it's not a foundational doctrine, and it's something that you have the choice to choose. So there's always these doctrines like, what was the premortal like? Were there people or humans before Adam? That's been a discussion between some of the members of the 12 apostles in the 70s. And it's not necessarily a foundational doctrine that's taught over and over and over, like Jesus Christ, repentance. It's not a foundational thing. So it's kind of like use your own discernment. But for people to try to claim that Brigham Young was a false teacher because he taught this, and I'm going to have to look up the Spencer Kimball quote because I don't ever remember him saying, I've never heard that one before. But I think in the new essays the church released, they just kind of say, in all of them, they just present the facts and then they let you decide.
And I mean, but I think to the point that Cocktail was trying to make is that you don't have the ability to decide whether to believe them or not and stay a faithful member. I think that's his point.
Well,
yeah, so if you were to go and start teaching the Adam God doctrine and claim Brigham taught it and that it is a doctrine in the LDS Church, you would be excommunicated.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, go talk to your stake president. Ask him.
Yeah. Why do you think that someone would be excommunicated because of something that's not a foundational teaching?
What happened to Eldon Watson after he published his paper on the two atoms theory in 1998?
This, you don't know what happens in excommunication councils is the thing. You have no idea if that was the reason, because the church will never release it. It's always just one-sided when you hear of someone being excommunicated. And they can state their reason, but you're never going to know if that's true because they're going to always side with themselves.
So Eldon Watson didn't get excommunicated. He was threatened with excommunication.
He may have, but how do you know what his excommunication was based on? Did he deny Joseph Smith? Yeah. If I go deny Joseph Smith, I would be.
Eldon Watson was an LDS apologist.
Okay, so did he deny something else that is a core doctrine? Was he excommunicated solely on the principle of Adam God? Probably not. Because it's neither here nor there taught anymore or disputed except by people who want to discredit Brigham Young.
I'm confused. How would that discredit Brigham Young?
Because people don't understand the Adam God doctrine, and so they use it, like Articulate here uses it to discredit the prophets.
What is the Adam God doctrine?
It's that Adam is a god.
Okay.
That he formed the earth, like you see in the temple. Like you
Okay.
see, he's one of the people who helped create the earth. He has a celestial or unchanging body in the garden, which we all know it was unchanging, and that's a celestial body. And he possibly is ruler of worlds, just like Abraham and Moses and all of them who have ascended. And the very basis of Mormon doctrine is that you can ascend and have eternal progression. So
Okay.
how is that
So-
conflicting?
So that's not the full Adam God doctrine.
But that's your theory. Like you're
No, that's
putting
not my
words
theory.
into.
There's four different teachings that Brigham Young gave on the Adam God doctrine throughout his life. It started in 1852 and went till his death. He gave four different variations of it.
Okay, what did I miss?
So the Adam God doctrine, in every single in every single version he gave of it, would include infinite regress. The idea that we become Adam on another world and start the human race again.
Yeah.
And a cycle is continued where eventually we will also become Jesus Christ, essentially, on another world for another.
No, we are not. No, that's not the Adam. No, we will never be a savior like Jesus Christ.
So there are two books I want you to look into. There's a book called Brigham Taught Adam God Doctrine, and it's got a bunch of question marks at the end of it. The other book I want you to look into is Drew Viney's The Adam God Doctrine.
Okay, but I'm just saying that what you say is true, because when we go through the temple, each of us, like you have the witness couple, and you have Adam, and you have Eve, and we're all pretending like we're Adam and Eve in the temple. You know that, right?
So in 1877, during the St. George endowment that was presented, what was the lecture at the Veil stating?
In 1877, I don't know. I didn't go through in 1977.
So look up a transcript of the lecture at the Veil for the 1877 St. George endowment, and read the description that they give and the explanation they give at the lecture on Adam God.
Okay, what's the basis of it? I'm
It's
sure
what I
you
just-
know. I'm sure you know if you brought it up.
Yes, because I've been through it. My sect does that version.
Okay, so I'm not against the theory that Adam is a god. Like, I'm not against that. And I don't know any Mormons who are necessarily against ascension, because when you go through the temple, you are Adam and Eve. Like, that's who you are symbolizing.
So the issue is you're using modern LDS interpretations and instilling it on what the Adam God doctrine was. You're not using what Brigham was teaching me. I mean,
Okay, what else is so weird? What else is so weird about what Brigham taught? Like, I don't see the conflict. I just don't see the conflict in what Brigham taught and basic core LDS doctrine that we are eternal. Everything is a pattern. Everything is circular. I refute the idea that anyone will be a savior. I
Adam
refute
infinitely, and people become Adam on other worlds and eventually become saviors to other people.
I would say that people who perform atonements are very few and far between, but I agree with the fact that we will expand. Like it's literally the temple endowment is us being Adam and ascending.
Right. Yes. But there's obviously a lot more to that. The endowment has changed.
It hasn't changed.
It has.
It has not.
Would you like me to send you a? Would you like me to send you a book?
Okay, there's certain words and certain things have changed, but the doctrine of the endowment has not changed.
How many covenants did you make in the temple last time you went through the temple? Correct me if I'm wrong, Bring. The LDS, you only do 5 covenants, or is it 4 covenants?
It's 5.
So I did 9. Every time I go through the endowment, I do 9.
But see, they've streamlined the endowment down from like it used to be like 4 hours. Now it's like 1.5.
So the St. George endowment is 12 hours long. So every time I go through the endowment, it takes about between 8 to 12 hours.
Because you move, it's an old temple, and you move from room to room, right?
Well, yeah, but that doesn't affect the time. It takes me a minute to walk across the hall to a different room.
Yeah, but the whole semblance of the temple is Adam fell, Christ rises. So Adam fell. So you watch the fall, right? You watch Satan, you watch the fall, And then the whole saga of the temple is rising through Jesus Christ. I don't think that those steps necessarily, the doctrine of rising through the blood of Jesus Christ to ascend into heaven and become celestial has changed. That has not changed. The
If
symbols
I
are
were
the
to
same.
read you some books, would you read them?
It depends on who they're by.
Okay, so the author is what would affect if you were to read a book or not.
Yeah,
What
because
would be the
I don't
requirements?
read stupid stuff. Like, you have to be credible.
Okay, so again, how would you determine the credibility? What if they're anti-LDS, for example?
A scholar. I mean, I've read Dr. Bushman. I've read Rough Stone Rolling.
Okay.
I've read, like I said, my heritage. My dad was almost I would say my dad was very historically informed because, and my grandpa and his dad all come from Isaac Morley of Kirtland. And my mom's side comes from Parley Pratt. And so to say that I don't know Mormon history or I don't know Mormon doctrine as it's been passed down, like, I'm not going to go read some random book from somebody who doesn't know anything. Plus, I have my own discernment. Like, I can discern truth.
So there's kind of two schools of thought there. We'll ask one thing. Do you think that Adam God theory was ever an official doctrine?
Are you asking me or her?
Her.
Okay.
No, I think official doctrine is pretty foundational. Like, it's like the articles of faith. It's not. So the fringe doctrines, it's kind of like use your own discernment.
So typically within our church, the doctrines of the church are confirmed not just by the presidency, but the quorum of the 12, and a majority of the leadership unanimously. So it was publicly asserted by the leaders of the church. It was referred to as doctrine by Brigham and other leaders.
Was there a manifesto? Was there a declaration?
Well, they were at the sort, as he mentioned, at the St. George, Utah temple at the lecture at the Veil. It explained the creation, the exaltation of Adam and his descendants, Adam and Eve being the parents of our spirits, and the mission of Jesus as the Savior. But was Adam God ever canonized? No. Even during Brigham's time, it was not accepted as unanimous belief of both the presidency and the quorum. It was never presented to the body of the church to be approved. In 1987, Joseph Fielding Smith stated that the teaching was in no sense binding upon the church nor upon the conscience of any of its members. So it's essentially kind of taught as a something that Brigham pushed as a personal belief of his.
Yeah.
To clarify, Bring, I just want to clarify your thought process. So, are you saying that D&C 132.7, the interpretation that the head of the church, the one acting as prophet, has sole authority over the church and is the one man on the face of the earth?
Again, that's talking about keys and powers. That's not doctrine. That's keys.
Okay, but that's how Brigham Young used it, and that's how he enforced to apologize for rejecting the transgression publicly in threat of excommunication.
You're interpreting that verse wrong.
No, there is no such thing as interpreting a verse wrong.
Yeah, you are. You're literally saying things that it doesn't say. Go read it. It says keys and powers. It says keys and powers.
I think if you look at how Brigham taught the doctrine, it's clear that he, even though, and I agree that it was not unanimously accepted in his time, he did himself teach it as binding on the church, even though it was not unanimously accepted. It was, I mean, very clearly in the very first teaching in 1852, he taught it as binding. He says, you will prove your salvation or your damnation based on how you receive this teaching. So he was very even though
flowery in his wording, you know.
Well, but it's not just flowery. It's he was being direct. You can't. I mean, I'll be honest. You can't just say it's flowery. I think that's to kind of diminish what he was saying. He was being very straightforward.
But again, doctrine is Joseph Smith what's canonized, the four Bible, Book of Mormon, D&C, Pearl and Great Price. That manifestos and proclamations. Okay, things people said in the wilderness around a campfire. that may or may have not been recorded correctly. Like, you can't pull that in and say
It
this
was
is
taught in a
binding.
conference, though. It's a conference
Yeah,
talk.
but that
It's
doesn't
not.
make it doctrine.
It's not. Well, again, it's not what I'm saying. Again, I'm not saying that's binding doctrine. I'm saying that he taught it, even though it was not unanimously accepted, as binding doctrine to the people that he was, talking to. But I'm not saying it's binding doctrine for y'all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's how Brigham understood it.
Articulate, can I ask a question real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Hey, so in order to be binding doctrine, Haley, would you need a statement that's signed by the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and the First Presidency that unanimously declares something was doctrine?
Yep.
Okay, so do you believe polygamy was a requirement to achieve the highest level of exaltation in heaven?
No, that's only for Joseph Smith, not the other ones, really.
So Joseph didn't necessarily teach that unless you're interpreting D&C 132 to say that. Look up the letter of amnesty that was signed in, I think it was 1887. If you could pull that up, Articulate, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
The letter
you said
of
it was
amnesty.
called the letter
of
amnesty?
amnesty to the House of Representatives, signed, I believe
Yeah,
it was
I
signed in
understand. I know what
1887.
happened. Like, I know the government came in and shut it down.
So
But
what
my
did
view on
what did the letter of
polygamy,
amnesty say, and who signed it? What were they asking for?
It's literally called the letter of amnesty.
It's called the letter of amnesty to the U.S. House of Representatives. I can, if need be, I can find it real quick and send it to you.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm just Googling it. I'm trying to see.
So the letter of amnesty to the U.S. House of Representatives directly states that Brigham Young taught it was a doctrine, and this was taught in the church and impressed among Latter-day Saints till a short time before 1880. I think it was 1887. In the Quorum of the 12 and the First Presidency signed it.
It's bringing up stuff about like ICE and stuff like that, so I have to wade through a bunch of.
You're good. They direct. Just put Mormon at the end of it. Probably.
so they signed a political letter. You're going to tell me a political. I'm not denying that polygamy was doctrine to Joseph, but it's only doctrine to certain people.
Oh, here it is.
Like it's always dual.
Here you go. Oh, that's probably kind of small. Oh, too big.
If you could Control F and type short time.
Control F and do what?
Short time. It'll pop up.
Short time. It says 0 of 0.
Try formerly. No, hold on. It should say that the Latter-day, something along the lines of it was taught to the Latter-day Saints and impressed among young Latter-day Saints till a short time before 1887, 1887, that polygamy was a requirement for exaltation. That doesn't look like the letter.
Yeah, this is kind of short. It says a proclamation 346 granting amnesty and pardon of the offense of engaging in polygamous or plural marriages.
Oh, that looks like
to
the
members.
reply to the letter.
Okay. Petition to Congress. 1839. No, that's not it.
That's not it. Well, let me see if I can find the letter. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, so see if you can find it.
I'm not going to disagree that polygamy was doctrine to Joseph.
But it states Brigham Young taught it and impressed it among young Latter-day Saints as a requirement for exaltation for the highest level of the kingdom. So that would mean Brigham Young was teaching it and impressing it among young Latter-day Saints. And the Quorum of the 12 and First Presidency signed it off.
I don't think a political letter is the same as something that's put into
someone
the
in the comments is saying
scriptures.
it's 1891 or Articulate.
1891. $1890 manifesto. 1891. There's this. Page 1. Benjamin Harrison. Wait. That's a article. I'm only finding
It's
the
on
reply
it's on the
to it.
Wilford, on the Wilford Woodruff letters. Wilford Woodruff.
Oh, page 1 of letter.
What's the point of the letter?
Wilford Woodruff papers,
February 1892.
December 19th, 1891. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
can
right
send
here.
you.
Salt Lake. Yeah, that's right here. Salt Lake, December 1891. We, the First Presidency and the Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, beg respectfully to represent Your Excellency the following facts. We formerly taught our people that polygamy or celestial marriage as commanded by God through Joseph Smith was right, that it was necessary to the man's highest exaltation in life to come. This doctrine was explicitly granted by our president, the late Brigham Young, 40 years ago, and was steadily taught and impressed upon the Latter-day Saints up to a short time before September 1890. Our people are devout and sincere. They accepted the doctrine, and many personally embraced the practice polygamy. Kind of sounds like what you were getting at, but it's pretty. I mean, it could have been further in here somewhere where it's like restated, but that kind of sounds like what you were getting at.
Yeah, so another example of this is Joseph White Musser being ordered to take a plural wife by Joseph Fielding Smith a short time before his death as well. Which, if you want to believe that account or not, that's up to you. But it's been taught, and it was.
So what is your summary of what is the point?
My point is that the Quorum of the 12 and the First Presidency directly stated it was doctrine, and it's been taught and circulated among the LDS from 1840 up until 1852.
Just real quick, I want to say, he's coming back. I was going to say, hey, thanks for coming up, Truth, but he's back. All right. Oh,
yeah, I know the ceiling's on sexual, Joseph. I don't have an issue with that.
I'm not denying that polygamy is doctrine. I never said that.
Okay, but is it a requirement for man? Was it taught as doctrine? And did the Quorum of the 12 and First Presidency sign it off that it was taught as doctrine for man's highest, the requirement for man's highest exaltation in life to come?
I think that you're putting that into your own words. So Joseph taught, polygamy was only...
What did the letter state?
Again, can I explain polygamy? Joseph taught polygamy for certain people, right? It was not a uniform thing for every single member. Okay, it was a sacrifice by the wives, and in 132, Joseph compares what he did, what Emma did, comparable to Abraham. And when Abraham gave up what he loved most, it was a sacrifice and enabled him to move up a level and receive the priesthood, right? So Joseph bringing the priesthood back to the earth, there had to be a sacrifice done by someone, which was Emma, and she gave up what she loved most in order for the priesthood to come back. So yes, it was necessary to receive the highest thing, which is the priesthood. But It wasn't for everybody.
Okay. Did Brigham Young teach that it was the requirement for for man's highest exaltation in the next life to come?
It was a very needed thing. Yeah, it was the saints. They would not have survived without that. So was polygamy
taught as a that's anyway. Do you believe that it was taught as being required for man's highest exaltation in the life to come, as in you needed to be a practice in order to receive the highest level of exaltation in the celestial kingdom?
Yes, because it enabled the priesthood to come again. Just like when Abraham did his sacrifice, it enabled the priesthood, and Abraham had the covenant, and he received the priesthood.
So again, you concede that it was taught as a requirement for the highest level of exaltation.
At the time, yes, because it brought the priesthood, but it's not needed anymore.
According to who? Where does it state that in Official Declaration 1?
It's not needed anymore.
Yeah, but where is it stated?
That's what the 1905 manifesto is.
Is the 1905?
I'm sorry, 1890.
Okay, in the 1890 manifesto, where does it state that polygamy is no longer a requirement for the exaltation of man?
I would say that's the whole gist of it. I mean, I haven't read it word for word for a while, but it's not needed anymore.
So you haven't read it?
I've read it, but like word for word, I haven't memorized it. I'm sorry. I'd have to go back and read it again.
You're okay. I mean, yeah, I would. I just your understanding of LDS history is a little modernist. That's really
Why
all
do
I
you
have to
say
say.
that? Why? You're the one that misinterprets 132.7, saying
Well,
that it's
no, because
doctrine.
132.7 was interpreted by Brigham Young and consistently taught that he was the one man with all authority on the face of the earth and no one could question it.
Yeah, the prophet does hold all the keys and power, like that said. Doesn't mean they can stand from a pulpit and spew random doctrine.
So, just so you're aware, under the definition you're giving for what decides doctrine, D&C 107 and D&C 28, the endowment wouldn't have been doctrine, nor would sealings, nor would plural marriage.
But Joseph brought those.
Right.
So what?
But
Joseph
that would
is
still
the prophet, seer, and revelator, and restored the whole Book of Mormon, the whole D&C, the whole entirety of the church. Joseph is a different prophet, and you'll learn this in church history. Joseph is
that's not
holy.
so the idea that he has the authority to do whatever he wants isn't stated anywhere. He didn't start doing that till 1840. He was confined by D&C 107 and D&C 28
and that's
up
not
until
true.
1840.
He translated the entire Book of Mormon
Was the book
before
okay.
that.
Yes, so he translated the Book of Mormon, and was the Book of Mormon canonized as a part of the LDS canon?
It doesn't matter if it was canonized. It was from Joseph. Church history doctrine is
Did
Joseph
they
Smith.
explicitly canonize the Book of Mormon in 1830?
It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Joseph says it, or else it's signed by 15 men. It's simple.
Where does Joseph state that it's only doctrine if I say it, or it's signed by 15 men?
He's literally, he said it many times. I am
Where
the
did
prophet
he say
seer.
it?
He says, I am the prophet, seer, and revelator, the prophet of this, the final dispensation. He ushered in.
How does that indicate he can add things without the approval of the first presidency or the quorum of the 12
He's
apostles?
the one. He is the founder of the
It's
church.
his church, or it's Jesus Christ's church?
He is the restoration founder. Why is this so difficult for you to comprehend?
Well, no, because you're just stating an interpretation at me and not backing it up.
No, I'm not.
Okay, can you give me something where he states that he has the right to overrule the quorum of the 12 apostles in the first presidency?
Why would he need to state that if he's the prophet? Joseph didn't need.
Brigham Young was the prophet as well. He was made the prophet.
No, Brigham is a whole different prophet. There was a fall. Do you not know that Joseph tried to establish Zion and it fell, and they were cast into the wilderness like the children of Israel? He was trying to establish Zion. The saints would not live the law of consecration. Joseph was a whole different level than any other person.
So again, this is an interpretation. You're not backing it up.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Are you saying
that? You could make some arguments around D&C 107 that it was doctrine, but it wasn't something that was practiced until like 1890 when that manifesto came out.
Yeah.
And that's things that I mean, from Catholics to anywhere, you've got doctrines that aren't practiced, and you've got practices that aren't necessarily doctrine.
So
it's the law of sacrifice. It's what it is.
The historical perception. So if you go read Brian Hales or
why are you telling me historical when I know I am raised?
I'm about to tell you who you can go read on what I'm about to say. So if you go read, so search up Brian Hales' work, as well as B.H. Roberts and Michael D. and Michael D. Quinn, and look at the changes that occurred from 1830 to 1840 when it comes to what approves doctrine for the LDS Church. And then what occurs after Brigham is named prophet of first president of the LDS Church up until his deceasement.
Why don't you describe the state of the church when Brigham Young became prophet? Why don't you describe what was happening to me when Brigham Young became prophet?
They were in Nauvoo. Sidney Rigdon was still in the first presidency. James Strang had started up a small, well, at the time it was small when this occurred, had started up a small group in Wisconsin claiming authority. And several of the saints, a good number of them actually, believed that Joseph Smith wanted his family to succeed him as prophet. And so they were hoping for Samuel Smith to do it. And when that failed, they were hoping for Joseph Smith III to do it. I'm not really understanding what your question is.
So my point is that the church now, today, or in Salt Lake in 1890 when they were able to sign manifestos was very organized to compare to what Brigham Young had. Like, people literally thought the church would disappear with the death of Joseph Smith. They thought that's the end of the Mormon church. We offed Joseph Smith. That's the Mormons are done, right? And Brigham Young steps in, and I believe he was inspired and directed and ordained.
You realize there was more than one Mormon church before the deceasement of Joseph, right?
I don't
There were
care.
several
They're
different
breakoffs.
denominations.
The RLDS, they're breakoffs. They have no.
Well, no. So that's a theological claim. That's saying something is a breakoff doesn't make it illegitimate.
I'm explaining something. And so Brigham Young picked up a broken people who had been mobbed, assaulted, shot, massacred.
The RLDS, the Stringites, the Bickertonites.
What's your point in that? So anyway, so Brigham Young picks up the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and he saves it, okay? And a lot of times Brigham Young had to make decisions on his own because he was the prophet and he didn't have an office. He didn't have a building.
Brigham Young wasn't the first president until much later after Joseph's death. He was just the president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles.
Okay, well, he was a leader. There's no doubt Brigham was a leader and he saved the church. Okay, Brigham stepped in and saved the church. Okay, and a lot of things that Joseph had tried to do with Zion. Like, Joseph gave everybody the priesthood. Joseph was trying to establish a city of one, but the church fell out of the garden. They were decrepit, like they barely survived. Okay, so yeah, Brigham Young did have to make some decisions on his own to get the saints up to winter quarters, where they almost starved, in Nebraska, and then take them west to who knows where. Like, it was not organized. And he had to cut out, for their own
Mm-hmm.
protection, the African American people holding leadership, because in Missouri
that's also an interpretation.
Well, we were almost exterminated. We were massacred because we were anti-slavery in Missouri. So Brigham Young, the government was out to kill us.
The church has never been explicitly anti-slavery.
Well, in Missouri they were, and that's why there was an extermination order.
A lot of the membership was against slavery. You could still be a Latter-day Saint and slaves.
Okay, well, it was before the Civil War. And Brigham Young was fighting the government. The government was out to off us, right? The government hated us. And so Brigham Young had to do whatever it took. He did whatever it took to save the church and get it west to Salt Lake City, okay? Which wasn't even Salt Lake City. It was just Indian territory. And it's not like that's something he wanted to do. But he stepped in and he was a leader. So yeah, Brigham Young made decisions on his own. Brigham Young spoke to the people to help them with
So Brigham Young's words were doctrine then, without approval of the Quorum of the 12?
I don't believe that everything Brigham Young said is recorded correctly, and I don't believe everything is explicit, core foundational doctrine. It's fringe doctrine. There's some things that are ideology in the church, but they're not necessarily, quote, doctrine.
Okay. Well, if I were to send you some history books and PDFs so you wouldn't have to pay for them, you just have access to them, would you read them?
Yeah, again, it depends on who they're by. It has to be a credible source.
If they weren't an LDS source, or say they were RLDS, for example, that's talking about early Mormon history. You're talking about early Mormon history from 1830 to 1844. Would you read it?
Yeah, I like Mormon history.
Okay. Even though
I'm not really interested in the RLDS church.
I'm not trying to convert you to the RLDS.
I don't think there's anything there. Look what they've become. They're absolutely nothing.
Would you be okay with an RLDS historian's take on the church from 1830 to 1844?
I mean, yeah. How is it going to be different from the LDS?
It's going to be substantially different, because they'll explain that Joseph went astray. He started violating D&C 107 and D&C 28, and so that's why they reject temple ceremonies.
Oh my gosh! He wrote them, and then he's like, "Nah, I don't believe that anymore." Is that what you're saying?
Because the endowment, the sealings, polygamy, none of it was approved by D&C 107 and D&C 28, which Joseph was forced to follow. This is part of the reason the Book of Abraham and the Book of Moses was never canonized up until 1888. Could you Google that for me real quick, Articulate, when the book of Abraham was canonized?
Yeah.
Canonized specifically, not
They are absolutely. The
Right,
RLDS Church
right.
has is zero compared to the Mormon Church.
October
the
10th,
LDS.
1880.
1880. It was canonized. Okay.
Okay, so the canonized, like, again, things Joseph, like, I would consider the King Follett Discourses doctrine because it's just something Joseph said, even though it's not canonized.
Interesting.
Because
interesting.
whatever Joseph said, I think he spoke truth, and I can tell he spoke truth.
Okay, so how do you know he spoke truth? Out of curiosity.
Because I have discernment.
Okay, so personal opinions and feelings.
No. Truth is like, so if you hear a violin playing in tune and it's like harmonic, that's kind of what truth sounds and feels like. Like, you can just know. But if you hear a violin playing out of tune or like nails on a chalk, like, it's disconcerting. And then you know that something's false when you read it, like words.
So
yeah, but then
William,
you would presuppose that you know what an in-tune violin sounds like. Me, I'm tone deaf. I can't tell what a musical instrument really sounds good or bad at.
Well, that's just an example. That it's just truth has a certain ring to it or pitch that you can tell. You can read something and tell if it's true or not.
Yeah. So, do you know who William Law was?
The Law brothers?
Yeah. So William Law and his brother.
Yeah. They weren't very nice to Joseph.
Right. And why weren't they nice to Joseph?
I mean, why were there mobs of 50 people with their faces painted with gunpowder wanting to shoot Joseph and hire? Like,
so
a lot of people.
William Law had nothing to do with that.
How do you know? How do you know he wasn't in the Carthage Graves mob?
Because he was in Nauvoo, as is documented, trying to rebuild his store that had just.
And that was Nauvoo was pretty freaking close to Carthage.
Right, but you realize he was running a church at the time. He was running.
Doesn't mean he didn't paint his face and go be part of the mob.
So he can teleport when he was documented to be in Nauvoo when it occurred.
You know, there's a fake affidavit of Joseph Smith signing the freaking, what are those plates that someone dug up? When Joseph was in prison, they said he looked at those, the Kinderhook plates. There's there's so many fake.
I'm a little confused how this relates to William
because
Law
there's just so many fake documents from that era. Like, whatever.
So
I'm not saying William Law was in.
Could DNC 132 be modified or falsified in any way, shape, or form, especially the verses 55 through the rest of the chapter?
Well, from what I heard, DNC 132 was burned by Emma after Joseph.
We have the Kingsbury manuscript. What the verses 55 through the rest of the chapter, are there any textual issues with it that would indicate that the ending of DNC 132 was not dictated until the Utah period?
I'm not sure.
Joseph supposedly wrote that, and you seem to accept it based off the conversation about polygamy.
My view of okay, what are you saying is in those verses? I'm not going to look at them.
You're fine. So that's the condemnation of Emma, and it talks about needing 10 or more wives to have exaltation.
It doesn't say 10 or more wives, but I do. So yeah, I do believe that part.
Okay. Yeah. So have you ever looked into the textual issues with it?
I've not, no.
Okay. So how do you know it's true? Is it just based off reading it that you have a feeling that it's true?
Because it fits with everything else in the section. It's not like an odd one out.
Can you demonstrate why all the other points in DNC 132 were mentioned in sources at the time, with the exception of 55 through the rest of the chapter, which wasn't mentioned anywhere in any source from the time period that talked about DNC 132? Not even the Nauvoo Expositor brought it up. And the Nauvoo Expositor got almost everything that was in DNC 132.
Okay, sorry. It fits to me with the prophecy of Abraham.
Okay. All right. Well, there's not much I can say if you're just running off interpretations, but I'll I'll leave it be. So sorry for taking up your stream, Articulate. I would just
No, it's
kinda
it's an interesting discussion. I like hearing the like difference between y'all. So I mean, I'm enjoying it personally. If anyone else is bored, they can go somewhere else. I don't care.
Oh,
But,
okay. Well, yeah, so everything I've stated isn't Thompsonite belief. I'm simply just stating historical issues between the different groups and the events that occurred.
Right.
So do you feel like you've proved anything?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've already conceded that polygamy was taught as a requirement for exaltation when you previously stated it wasn't. You've already conceded. You've already conceded in the comments on post-manifesto polygamy being taught. You, for some reason, thought that sealings were done in the temple only prior to 1904. You also said that in the comments as well, when they were mostly done in bishops' offices and the apostles' offices. And then you refused to look up a woman that's even mentioned on the church website as being a post-manifesto bride to Wilford Woodruff.
Is that what does that have to do with your initial comment to me? Is about what is doctrine and what is not doctrine.
Right, because the historical understanding of what decided doctrine in the LDS Church changed from 1830
It has never changed. I don't see why you think it's changed.
So from 1830 to 1840, where the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and the First Presidency required to unanimously agree on what was doctrine for the church.
No, because Joseph was alive.
Okay, so then why was the Book of Abraham and the Book of Moses not canonized until 1880?
Well, Joseph translated those. Those are from Joseph.
Why wasn't it canonized until the 1880s, and why did the RLDS Church reject it?
That doesn't make any difference. They could canonize the King Follett Discourse right now. They could canonize it. That doesn't take away that Joseph is the author.
Okay, so do you accept the Sermon on the Grove in its entirety as LDS doctrine?
The King Follett?
No, the Sermon at the Grove that occurred a few weeks later.
If Joseph spoke it and it's accurately recorded, I will accept anything Joseph says as doctrine. He was right on. He did not sway. He did not divert. He had his one instance where he gave away the 116 pages to Martin Harris and his wife in that whole debacle. And since then, he did not stray.
So he was not wrong about anything else in his life?
No, not after that.
So he was infallible?
He was pretty freaking infallible after the 116 pages, and he said that. He said,
I don't think there's anything I can say past this point that can convince you of either direction. So I hope
probably not.
That's an indefensible position you've put yourself into.
I'm not trying to argue with you. I just you've put yourself in a position that isn't. It's just not going to look good. So I don't really want to.
I'm not. So I don't look good to you. Oh no.
No, at least I don't know how to.
At least she's willing to stand 10 toes down and
I'll give her that. I'll give her that. I'll give her that. I'll give her that.
I actually prefer that. I actually prefer that from somebody rather than because it's honestly kind of refreshing because a lot of Latter-day Saints, I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of Latter-day Saints I talk to are kind of squishy, and you have to really it's like trying to nail Jello to a wall. And if someone just says, no, I believe this, I prefer that. I'll be totally honest. I'm not going to make fun of you for that.
I just don't know what to make of it. Because are you aware of the accounts of him removing the priesthood from black members of the LDS Church? When the curse of Cain thing started to become common in the church. Are you familiar with that?
That was because his father, the first patriarch, Joseph Smith Sr., Joseph's father, he was not quite on the money with the patriarchal blessings. And so he gave one African-American person a patriarchal blessing. And you know how that states your lineage. And he said it was from Africa and the lineage of Cain. And he drank a lot. I don't know if that was exactly correct. And I think when something kind of goes off a little bit, they remove it just so that it doesn't create a lot of...
You're fine. I don't have an issue with that. What you're saying is right. But are you saying that Joseph didn't believe in the curse of Cain doctrine? Well, not the curse of Cain doctrine, but the idea of the idea of the curse of Cain that came from Protestantism.
Cain was definitely cursed.
Right, but the idea of I forgot what the term is for it. What the what's it called, hypothesis? Can someone help me? Daniel, you know this.
I think
I just jumped in and I was arguing
Daniel,
with so many
the hypothesis
comments,
that
brother.
goes over the West Africans being descendants of Cain or Ham. What is that called?
Dadgum. The sons of Cain, the sons of Ham.
It's something hypothesis. I can't remember what it's called.
I think people often interpret
as well.
They'll interpret this is my understanding of the curse of Cain, is that in the Bible it will often say dark skin, and it means a dark covering. It just translates to skin, and it doesn't necessarily mean skin color. So if you look at Adam and Eve in the garden, we're given garments of animal skin. Those are the white skins of the priesthood, and that's what the coat of many colors that Joseph of Egypt wore, and that symbolized his priesthood. And so on the flip side, there were also dark animal skins versus the white animal skins of the garment.
So that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the Protestant idea that started to circulate in the early Mormon church, is with an S, that African Americans were under a curse.
I don't remember that.
Okay. I'm pretty much done with this conversation. I've already taken enough of articulate stuff.
The Hamitic hypothesis.
Yeah.
The Hamitic hypothesis.
So, yeah. So are you aware of the several reasons that were cited by Brigham Young and the Quorum of the 12 Apostles from the even Joseph Smith? Well, Joseph Smith only said something in his journal, but are you aware of the idea of African Americans being cursed that came from Protestantism that was kind of in the LDS Church for a little bit? Sorry, I'm trying to approach this with as much tact as I can. I'm not trying to be
I mean, giving you a hint, it was widespread among Methodist, Baptist, Congregationalist.
Yeah, but
that's why all those congregations were segregated.
I'm referring to the LDS Church specifically.
And then in the LDS Church, it seeped in. And certainly Brigham held to some of that. Some of his private statements said that.
Yeah. And
it happened under Joseph in Nauvoo because one of his best friends was Zebedee Coltrane, who was a black man who had been an apostle but was stripped of that apostleship in Nauvoo.
It's because they were running from the government.
Wrong, Hallie. It happened long before that ever happened. I'm LDS. I used to be a seminary teacher. You don't know what you're talking about.
All right, Articulate. I think I made my faith look bad enough tonight.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hop out, okay?
And it's not really just that.
I just wasn't expecting the heat. I'll be honest.
It's just Hallie brings a lot of conjecture and opinion without the receipts to back it up. You'll find Cocktail does bring the receipts every time.
Hallie believes what she was taught over the pulpit and has never questioned anything she's ever heard over the pulpit.
How do you know I've never questioned anything?
Because of your answers that you're giving.
Everything that you said tonight bears it out, dear.
That's not true.
Yeah, it does.
No, there's a lot of members who don't agree with.
No.
There's a lot of members who don't agree with me.
At least you finally let me on your live, Andrew.
I let you on every week.
No, you don't. I always show up at the last second. So I'm just playing. It's not you. It's not you. I'm just playing. But I think you're enjoying sitting back, eating popcorn, getting to see that we don't always speak with one singularity of voice.
Well, no, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I think it's genuinely interesting. I'm not here to make fun of y'all or what. I genuinely enjoy listening to these conversations because I think it helps me understand where the differences are. I mean, I personally enjoy learning the history of the LDS Church. I'm reading two biographies on Joseph Smith right now. The one by what's her name? Oh my goodness, what's her name, dude? I'll have to look it up now.
Susan Black.
No, it's the lady that's not very. I don't know if she was excommunicated, but she like it was
Oh,
not.
her, yeah. Fawn Brody.
Fawn Brody. Thank you. Goodness,
Why
I
are
couldn't
you
think of it.
reading that one? Why are you of all the
Because
books
it's
you
on
could read?
Spotify. Well, so I'm reading that one, and then the other one is No Man Knows My History by Fawn Brody.
No Man
and
Knows My
then
History. Very good.
John G. Turner is also really good. I'm really enjoying The Rise and Fall of an American Prophet. I think it's a really, really good book. It's really well written. So I honestly enjoy like the history. I'll be totally honest. I think it's very interesting. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, there's a lot in our history, and not all of it's pretty, and some of it's very controversial.
And also, not everything is documented.
Well,
sure.
There's, in between, the different break-off groups, the Stringites and everything else, Monorites, there's going to be some differences in what you hear and where you hear it from.
I mean, my mom, I was talking to my mom yesterday, and she was telling me stories of my I don't remember, fifth great grandpa in Scotland. He was converted by a missionary, and he was 16, and his dad said, if you join that church, I never want to see you again. So he was 16. He took all his whatever he had, like a couple dollars.
And Haley, you're an ex-mo?
No. Why do you think that?
Just some of the things you said tonight. I just wondered what you were.
Oh, it's
interesting the way in which you view doctrine.
Huh?
So, King Follett Discourse was never doctrine. Is not doctrine.
It's doctrine to me because Joseph said it.
AGT is not doctrine. Has never been doctrine.
Are you denying it?
I'm not denying that. I'm not. No, I personally am very into.
I used it as an example because he was saying that the Book of Abraham wasn't canonized until later on. And I'm like, but Joseph still translated it.
I'm just telling you that whenever you go up against Cocktail brings the receipts on history with him. So you'll be hard pressed to find something and state that something that's false around him without him being able to correct it about 7 different ways.
Yeah, but he has a lot of his own interpretations.
Yeah, no doubt. He's not,
And I don't know why he thinks that I disagree with. I always said I believe polygamy is a conflicting commandment. It's always for some people and not for other people. The Book of Mormon explicitly says no polygamy over and over and over. However, at certain times, it was directed.
Well, yeah, it was directed. It will be directed again. And they don't
necessarily know that unless
can be required for exaltation. So, but not everyone that believes in the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith as the latter day, as a true prophet, seer, and revelator, is going to necessarily agree on the polygamy question.
That's okay.
Polygamy works very well whenever it works very well.
I believe it's needed for. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
No, I was gonna say. I'll say the clock has basically struck midnight, so I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna hop off. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the good conversation. So yeah, I'm gonna drop y'all down, and then
thanks, Andrew.
Appreciate y'all. Yeah, you guys have a wonderful night. God bless y'all. God bless. God bless. God bless. All right, guys. Hey, if y'all have enjoyed, please hit the follow button. I know we didn't really have much dialogue between me and Latter-day Saints, but we had some really interesting historical conversations. So I think that was great. So again, if y'all have just enjoyed, hit the follow button. Always enjoy having these conversations, and I'll be back tomorrow, probably sometime in the afternoon, evening, something like that. So, but you won't know if you don't follow. Just saying. So hit the follow button. See y'all tomorrow. God bless you.